The night was supposed to be routine, another case, another paycheck. But when private investigator Nelson Ryan steps into a seedy motel room, he finds more than just a missing woman. She's dead, and suddenly, he's at the center of a murder mystery that stretches far beyond what he ever expected. Framed, hunted, and desperate for the truth, Ryan must navigate a treacherous path through lies, betrayals, and deadly enemies, leading him from the dark alleys of an American city to the dangerous underworld of Hong Kong. A Coffin from Hong Kong, first published in 1962, is one of the many masterfully written crime novels by James Hadley Chase, a British author renowned for his hard-hitting noir fiction. Chase, often considered the king of thriller writers, built a career on fast-paced, suspenseful storytelling filled with double-crosses, femme fatale, and ruthless criminals. His novels, heavily influenced by American crime fiction, are known for their sharp dialogue, atmospheric settings, and relentless tension. Though he never visited the US or Hong Kong, Chase's meticulous research and imagination brought these worlds to life with vivid authenticity. This novel follows Nelson Ryan, a hardened private eye, whose simple assignment, tracking down a woman accused of fraud, quickly spirals into a nightmarish ordeal. The deeper he digs, the more dangerous the case becomes, leading him into a web of international intrigue where every clue pushes him closer to the truth, and the killer's determined to keep it buried. This material has been compiled and presented by Dadson Education, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to literary analysis and education. In this chapter-by-chapter summary, we'll unravel the novel's twists and turns, following Ryan's desperate search for answers in a world where trust is a luxury and death lurks around every corner. Chapter 1: A case that starts with a dead woman. For private investigator Nelson Ryan, cases often begin with a lie. But this one starts with a call, a late-night plea from a desperate man. The caller, John Hardwick, is a wealthy businessman with a problem. He claims he was scammed by a woman who lured him into a compromising situation and then disappeared with his money. He wants Ryan to track her down and recover what's his. It sounds like an easy job, the kind that pays well and ends quickly. But Ryan has been in this business long enough to know that nothing is ever as simple as it seems. Following the trail, Ryan's search leads him to a rundown motel on the outskirts of the city, a place where secrets go to die. The air smells of cigarette smoke and cheap perfume, and the flickering neon sign outside barely illuminates the shadows creeping in every corner. Room 207, that's where he finds her. But she's not a grifter waiting to be confronted. She's dead. A single gunshot wound has left her lifeless on the motel floor, and Ryan suddenly realizes that he has walked into something far more dangerous than a routine investigation. The woman Hardwick wanted him to find isn't a scam artist anymore, she's a corpse. And now, Ryan is left with the biggest question of all: if Hardwick's story was true, who silenced her before she could talk? What began as a simple job has turned into a murder mystery, and Ryan knows one thing for sure: he's already in too deep. Chapter 2: Framed for Murder? Nelson Ryan had seen trouble before, but never this close. As he stands over the dead woman's body in the dimly lit motel room, the unmistakable sound of sirens slices through the silence. The police arrive fast, too fast. Almost as if someone knew he'd be here. The next few minutes are a blur of flashing lights, suspicious glares, and the cold weight of accusation settling on Ryan's shoulders. The officers don't like what they see: a private detective alone with a corpse, no witnesses, and no clear explanation. His alibi is weak. He followed a lead, he was hired to find her, but try telling that to a cop looking for an easy arrest. Then there's the evidence, and none of it works in Ryan's favor. The gun? Missing. The motive? Unclear. But the blood on the floor and the fact that Ryan's prints are now all over the crime scene? That's enough to make him look guilty. Enter Detective Lepsky, a sharp, no-nonsense cop who has seen every trick in the book. He doesn't trust private investigators, and he definitely doesn't trust a man found standing over a fresh body. Lepsky grills Ryan with pointed questions, each one cutting closer to a conclusion Ryan doesn't like. Did someone set him up? If so, who? As the interrogation drags on, one crucial detail emerges: the dead woman wasn't just another nameless victim. She was from Hong Kong, and her true identity remains a mystery. That single fact shifts the case from local murder to something much bigger. Ryan knows one thing for sure: whoever killed her wanted her silenced, and if he doesn't clear his name soon, he might be next on the list. Chapter 3: A Deeper Conspiracy. Something doesn't add up. Nelson Ryan walks into John Hardwick's office the next morning, determined to get answers. Hardwick hired him to find the woman, so why does he now act like she never existed? Sitting behind his polished mahogany desk, Hardwick barely flinches when Ryan tells him the woman is dead. His reaction is too smooth, too controlled. And when Ryan presses him for details, her name, their connection, Hardwick simply shrugs. Must have been a mix-up, he says. I don't know anything about a dead woman. But Ryan isn't buying it. Something in Hardwick's story stinks, and it isn't just the cheap cologne lingering in the air. The businessman's tone is too dismissive, his words rehearsed, as if he's trying to sweep the whole thing under the rug. Hardwick might be rich, but Ryan knows money doesn't buy innocence. Determined to dig deeper, Ryan retraces his steps, looking for anything the cops might have missed. That's when he finds it, a matchbox tucked under the motel bed. It's from a Chinatown nightclub, a place called the Blue Lantern. A single clue, but in Ryan's line of work, a matchbox can be just as valuable as a confession. The deeper Ryan digs, the murkier things become. The Blue Lantern isn't just another smoky nightclub, it's a front, a gathering spot for the city's underworld. And if the dead woman had any connection to it, she wasn't just a scam artist. She was involved in something much bigger. Ryan knows one thing for sure, Hardwick is lying, and the real players in this game are still in the shadows. But shadows have a way of swallowing people whole, and if Ryan isn't careful, he might be next. Chapter 4, A Dangerous Lead. The Blue Lantern isn't the kind of place you find by accident. It hides in the backstreets of Chinatown, where the neon glow barely reaches and the air is thick with cigarette smoke and whispered deals. Nelson Ryan steps inside, his instincts on high alert. The club hums with low music, clinking glasses, and the kind of tension that tells him he isn't welcome. He orders a drink, but he isn't here for cocktails. He flashes the matchbox at the bartender, a wiry man with cold, calculating eyes. Looking for someone, Ryan says. The bartender barely glances at him before nodding toward the far corner, where a woman sits alone, draped in shadows. She's beautiful but guarded, her red dress clinging to her like a warning sign. When Ryan approaches, she doesn't act surprised. You ask too many questions, she murmurs, sipping her drink. That's how people disappear. She knows something, he's sure of it. But before he can press her, he feels it. That prickling sensation at the back of his neck. Someone's watching him. When he turns, he catches a glimpse of a man slipping out the door. The moment he steps outside, the ambush comes fast. A fist to the ribs, a knee to the gut. The pavement rushes up to meet him. 2 men, maybe 3, working together, their attacks precise. They don't want him dead, just broken enough to stop digging. A final kick to his side drives the message home. As they walk away, one of them leans down and mutters, "Go home, detective. Before we send you a coffin, too." Ryan lies there for a moment, pain radiating through his body. But he smiles through the blood. They wouldn't have jumped him if he weren't on the right track. Whatever secret this woman is hiding, it's worth killing for. And that means he's not stopping now. Chapter 5, The Hong Kong Connection. Nelson Ryan wakes up the next morning sore, bruised, and more determined than ever. The beating outside the Blue Lantern wasn't just a warning, it was proof that he was getting close. But close to what? That question gnaws at him as he pieces together the clues. The dead woman wasn't just a con artist or some unlucky drifter. She was tied to something bigger. And then it clicks, smuggling. Digging deeper, Ryan uncovers whispers of an operation moving illicit goods between Hong Kong and the US, drugs, jewels, forged passports, maybe all of the above. The woman in the motel room wasn't just a pawn, she was part of the network. And someone made sure she wouldn't talk. One thing is clear, the answers aren't in this city anymore. They're in Hong Kong. Booking a flight under a fake name, Ryan knows he's stepping into the lion's den. But before he can even make it to the airport, trouble finds him again. This time, it's not fists in a dark alley, it's a bullet. A shot rings out as he steps into his car, the windshield shattering inches from his face. A sniper. They're getting desperate. Ryan ducks, rolls out, and disappears into the night. Another close call, but it only confirms what he already knows. Someone is willing to kill to bury the truth. By the time he boards the plane, he's made his decision. He isn't just looking for answers anymore, he's hunting the people who tried to put him in a coffin. And when he lands in Hong Kong, he'll make sure they know it. Chapter 6, Chasing Shadows in Hong Kong. The plane touches down in Hong Kong under a sky heavy with rain, and Nelson Ryan steps into a city that hums with danger. The streets are a maze of neon lights, crowded markets, and whispered deals in back alleys. This isn't his territory, but trouble has a way of finding him, no matter the location. He wastes no time. Through an old contact, he's introduced to Ko Ming, a local informant with an ear to the ground and a price for every secret. They meet in a dimly lit tea house, the kind where the wrong conversation can get you killed. Ko Ming doesn't waste words. "The woman you're looking for," he says, stirring his tea slowly. "She was mixed up with the Lishing Syndicate." Ryan leans in. He's heard the name. The Lishing Syndicate isn't just another crime ring, it's one of the most powerful in the city, controlling smuggling routes, drugs, and human trafficking. If the dead woman was tied to them, she wasn't just a random victim. She knew something. Maybe too much. But as Ryan digs deeper, something doesn't sit right. Too many people wanted her dead. Why? What was she carrying? Who did she betray? Every answer leads to more questions, and every ally he finds comes with a price. Then comes the gut punch. Through a back-channel tip, Ryan learns something he wasn't expecting. Someone close to him, someone he trusted, is involved. A name he knows is tangled up in this mess, and suddenly, Ryan isn't just chasing shadows. He's hunting a traitor. The realization tightens his grip on his gun. This isn't just about solving a murder anymore. It's personal. And when he finds the one who set him up, there won't be any second chances. Chapter 7, A Coffin from Hong Kong. Nelson Ryan had seen his fair share of threats, but this one was different. It wasn't a bullet through the window or a knife in a dark alley. It was a coffin. Delivered straight to his hotel. The concierge barely makes eye contact as Ryan stares at the long wooden box, his name scrawled across the lid. He forces it open, half expecting a corpse inside. But it's empty. Message received. Someone in Hong Kong wants him gone, permanently. He doesn't have time to be shaken. The walls are closing in, and if he doesn't make his move now, he'll be the next body in a box. Through bribes, threats, and a few close calls, Ryan pieces together the truth. The smuggling ring, the murder, the betrayal, it all leads back to one name, John Hardwick. The man who hired him, who played the clueless businessman, wasn't just involved. He was at the center of it all. Ryan arranges a meeting, forcing Hardwick's hand. The confrontation unfolds in a luxurious penthouse overlooking Victoria Harbour. Hardwick, smooth as ever, plays it cool, until Ryan lays out the truth. The woman wasn't a random con artist. She was a courier, carrying something valuable. Hardwick double-crossed her, and when she threatened to talk, he had her silenced. But Hardwick didn't count on one thing, Ryan surviving long enough to connect the dots. The tension snaps like a gunshot. Hardwick reaches for his weapon, but Ryan is faster. A struggle. A gun goes off. Hardwick falls, clutching his chest, his empire crumbling in a pool of blood. Ryan takes a deep breath, knowing the job is done. The case that started with a dead woman ends with justice, brutal, inevitable justice. As he walks away, he spares one last glance at the coffin waiting for him in his hotel. Not today. Chapter 8, Justice and Aftermath. The gunshot still echoed in Nelson Ryan's ears as he stepped out of the penthouse. Behind him, John Hardwick lay motionless, a crimson stain spreading across his silk shirt. The man had played a dangerous game, built an empire on deceit and death, but in the end, justice had caught up with him. Or had it? Ryan didn't kid himself. Hardwick was just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. The smuggling ring, the corruption, the bodies left in its wake, none of it disappeared just because one man lay dead. The leashing syndicate still thrived, its reach extending beyond anything he could touch. And the police? They'd clean up Hardwick's mess, chalk it up as another power shift in the underworld, and move on. Justice, if that's what this was, came at a price. As Ryan walked through the neon-lit streets of Hong Kong, bruises aching and exhaustion settling into his bones, he thought about the dead woman who started it all. He never even knew her real name. Just another pawn caught in a game where the rules were written by men like Hardwick. He lit a cigarette, watching the city move around him, people gambling in back alleys, lovers whispering promises they wouldn't keep, criminals making deals under the glow of streetlights. Nothing had changed. Nothing ever did. By the time he reached his hotel, the concierge barely acknowledged him. The coffin was gone. Someone had removed it, but the message remained burned in his mind. A warning, a prophecy. Maybe next time, he wouldn't be so lucky. Packing his bag, Ryan knew he wasn't sticking around. Hong Kong wasn't his city, and after tonight, it never would be. He'd take the next flight out, head back to his office, pour himself a drink, and wait for the next case. Because that's how it always went. In his line of work, justice was an illusion. The dead stayed dead, the guilty kept killing, and men like him? They just survived. For now. Conclusion. A Coffin from Hong Kong is a masterclass in noir fiction, a relentless descent into a world where deception is currency, betrayal is inevitable, and justice is never black and white. At its core, the novel explores the fine line between justice and revenge. Nelson Ryan may have unraveled the conspiracy, but at what cost? The truth doesn't bring peace, only more questions, and in a corrupt world, survival often means compromising one's own morality. James Hadley Chase's signature style is on full display. Fast-paced storytelling, razor-sharp dialogue, and a plot that twists with every page. The novel's tension never relents, pulling the reader through shadowy backstreets, high-stakes confrontations, and a tangled web of lies that keeps the mystery alive until the final chapter. But A Coffin from Hong Kong is more than just a crime story, it's an atmospheric journey into the heart of noir fiction. It doesn't promise neat resolutions or moral victories. Instead, it leaves the reader with a lingering sense of unease, a reminder that in Ryan's world, justice is fleeting, trust is a liability, and the past has a way of catching up with everyone. This content was brought to you by Dadson Education, a not-for-profit organization dedicated to providing insightful literary discussions. If you found this material thought-provoking, make sure to stay connected for more compelling stories. Pass this along to others who appreciate gripping narratives, and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below.